I remembered it was like yesterday. It was one of the lowest points in my life. It was a hot June night, June 19, 2016 to be exact. I was on my recliner chair in my house alone watching TV. I was under the influence of drugs and alcohol. My mind was filled with negative thoughts about me. My heart was heavy but empty. I did it again. I allowed myself to be used, rejected, and heartbroken again. I fell into a deep emotional hole. I just knew for sure that I could never amount to anything or even try again. I was ready to give up, not on life, but on trying to be what everyone needed, trying to be someone I was not, trying to be good enough for the standards of this world. Prior to that night, the years had been mentally hard and I did not manage myself well. I had previously given my life to God on the outside, but somehow I did not give God my whole heart. I was walking with God, but I was not fully committed. I was in a mental bondage. My heart was sick. Even my body began to get sick. When I gave my life to Him, I said I would not smoke again. I said I would not have premarital sex again. I said I would follow in all of His ways. Yet on that hot June night, there I sat, totally disappointed in myself because I was not able to do what I was desperately desiring to do in my heart. Why couldn't I keep the promises I made? Why was it so hard to let go of the things that were hurting me and had been hurting me for years? Why was it so difficult for me to totally commit to Him? Because I knew that if I did, it would set me free. I settled for comfort, but God wanted to give me wholeness. I settled for familiarity, but God wanted to give me life and that more abundantly. I settled for the opinions of people that were not even pursuing the things of God. I was stuck in negative thinking and constantly feeling lonely. I felt emotionally low all the time, and I began to sink into depression. I stayed in less than what I truly deserved. And although I was discontent with my life, I did not have the strength to pursue anything better. But God had a great plan for me. He wanted to restore my mind and heal my heart and renew my spirit. I believe that I didn't deserve anything better than what I was experiencing. I felt as if everything was crashing in on me. I felt rejected and isolated, but I settled for emptiness, temporal highs like smoking and drinking and premarital sex. I chose to stay with people, be in places, and do things that were never going to take me from where I was and push me forward to where I was destined to be. I settled for the very things that made me experience discontentment and discouragement. That dysfunctional life began to feel like my comfort. But God was calling me out. I wanted to move forward, but I was fearful of leaving what I knew, my comfort zone. I was afraid of walking into the unknown, and the thoughts of failing kept me in bondage. It was right there in that soaking state of mind, in that moment of questioning myself, asking myself, how did I get here? I knew better. I knew that God had so many promises in His Word just for me, and yet there I was. I had chosen to stay in a place of bondage, knowing that God was offering me freedom. As I continued to reflect on my life that night, it was almost like something clicked, like a light bulb went off in my head, and I realized that I had to let some things go in my life before I could pursue anything better. I needed to let go of some of the distractions I was entertaining because they were making it hard for me to hear and see God. A few years prior to this night, I began to seek help outside of myself. So I reached out to counselors. I was prayed over by pastors. I even attended small groups in hopes that I would find some peace. I did everything they asked me to do. I applied every tool that was given to me. And while the counselors and pastors and the small group leaders did their very best to help me, I still did not have the power to break the habits that were destroying me. And I could not keep my promises. I couldn't help myself. I was stuck in a place of dysfunctional comfort. I began to distrust myself because I realized that my words had no value and my promises meant absolutely nothing. That made me feel like a failure. I began to feel rejected, abandoned, alone, isolated, unloved, empty again. And that is when the shift happened for me. That hot June night while sitting on my chair, high on drugs and stuck in my thoughts, God spoke to me. This reclining chair seems to be the main place that God comes to meet me. He said to me, Kia, I want a more intimate relationship with you. Me, Lord? Do you see me? I did it again. I hit rock bottom again. How could you want me? How could you use me? What could you do with me? He said, give me your yes, your fully committed, unreserved yes. Give me the yes that I've been longing for, but that you have been hesitant to give. It was then that I realized God's great love for me. After all I had done, there God was telling me he wanted my yes, the yes of a broken, discontent, depressed, dysfunctional woman. I could not believe that he wanted me. He wanted to use me. He wanted to love me. He saw worth and value in me. I said, Lord, I give you my yes. My full, committed, unreserved yes. In that moment, I felt freedom. There was clarity in my mind. My heart was light and full of joy. A sense of peace covered me. The bondage was broken, and I was being renewed with strength. I went through a season of isolation, pruning, and character building. I had to take some time to do some work on me. I had to learn to forgive myself, to get rid of the negative thoughts and feelings that I had previously given control over me. I had to spend time breaking old habits and developing new ones. I had to learn to depend on God. That God that pursued me that night made me realize that I was loved, I was accepted, I was forgiven, I was restored and transformed. And giving him my 100% yes, it's the very best decision that I've ever made in my life. It wasn't a 50% yes, and it wasn't a 75% yes. It was a 100% yes. Since being fully committed, without reservation, I have been walking and living and leaping in inner peace and great joy. I am Kia J. Hatchett, creator of the 12-step process to becoming whole. This program was designed to empower faith-based women who are experiencing feelings of discontentment and discouragement, to transform their thinking so that they can also attain inner peace and external freedom.